Greetings everyone, Unsafe Kibble here, coming to you with another Zelda Limited Heart play. So things are going to go really fast here at the beginning. This was a really cool game. I enjoyed some of the nostalgia. I enjoyed the linking, and I'll talk more about that here in a second. But overall, I would recommend this game if you enjoy the 2D Zeldas. So you're going to notice throughout this video that I have 4 hearts. That is because this is a linked run. You can do this with either Oracle of Seasons or Oracle of Ages. The basic idea is you have to beat the game and you get a code, and that code allows you to connect Oracle of Sages and Oracle of Seasons together. Connecting them is going to give us final bosses, 2 of them, that we'll be looking at the end. So these first 2 bosses very much harken back to the original Zelda. So that was really cool to see those. Very simple boss, very simple design. If you've played the original Zelda, you're not going to have any trouble with these. This one was slightly tricky because I didn't know where the heart was going to spawn, and I was standing on top of it the first time. So that was a big oopsie on that one. But really, these first 2 bosses, there's not much to say. They're really easy. So there you go. And now we come to our first annoying boss. So this one was a bit tricky. I found I could open by standing very, very close to the edge and hanging on. Once it starts flying in a figure 8 pattern, or in a pattern around the room, you want to be jumping the opposite direction. So you can see here, as it goes one direction, I go the other. This is really bad. You don't want it to stop on the side that you stop, because the basic way you avoid these projectile explosions that he does is you hide in that corner. I believe I pull it off on this go, and you'll get a chance to see it. If you stand in I prefer the bottom side corner, those will completely miss you. Since he was on the same side as me again, I had to go ahead and jump in order to survive that. He can do that attack, or he can do one more where he sends out a bunch of teeny tiny butterflies. That one right there. You basically want to whack the first 2 waves with your sword, and the others will go around you. Not a lot of HP on this boss. When he stops, you want to try to get 3 hits in, and that's basically the entire fight. Okay, this boss, again, not much to it. Reminds me of a boss in Zelda 1. Basically, you want to hit it in the eye, but before you can hit it in the eye, you need to knock its claw off there. You knock the claw off by hitting it several times. It'll do that charge forward, so you always want to be pretty far away from it. You also never want to be close and standing to the side, as that side shuffle that it does is ridiculously fast. Once you get to the second phase, after having knocked off the claw, he's going to spawn out a bunch of little bitty bouncies that can damage you. You're going to want to equip the slingshot that you have, and you're going to want to try to shoot it in the eye when it spawns these. Now, I'm quite confident that you could do this without busting up the little ones, but trying to do this flawless at minimum heart level, I felt it was easier to clean them up. He doesn't appear to flood the room with them, so he never spawned more while others were alive. So a trick that I didn't test might be to leave one alive and try to do it that way. But anyways, it only takes like 4 seeds to kill it, and once you hit it in the eye. Okay, the basic strategy for this boss is pray. You've got the magnetic gauntlet. You're going to want to run it across the eye and in a pull-push motion. You can't let it get too close to you, as it will damage you if it hits. Once he breaks into little pieces, I found that hiding in the corner and pushing it diagonally was the best way to crunch as many of the little ones as you can. He will eventually rejoin together. You don't want him to have just one alive inside him, because then he will move very, very fast. So you want to have at least two. I think I have 3 alive at this point. You're going to hit him again, and then hopefully the second time you break him apart, you're going to be able to get all of them. I got ridiculously lucky, you're going to see here, and they all lined up, and I got them in one clean stroke. I hate this boss. I'm generally not of a fan of bosses where the room isn't just an obstacle, but actually makes the boss significantly harder. I don't mind traps and pitfalls in the room, but the room actually moving you towards the boss, I'm not a fan of. So the basic idea is you've got the upgraded boomerang, because you can't do the dungeon without it. So you're going to throw the boomerang. What I'm trying to do is get the boomerang on the other side of the room, and then position myself so that it comes back through the plant. This allows you to get multiple hits on the plant rather than just one at a time. All right, I managed to knock it off here, and then the trick here at the end is you want to hit it once and then pull, or I think twice, 3 times, and pull out the sword and whack it once, and that's game over. Okay, and here we have another nostalgia moment. I hated this boss in the original Zelda. This was much better. The trick here is he will do 3 different attacks in this opening. He'll do the exploding fireball, he will encircle you with 4 things, and he will shoot 2 waves of triple fireballs. You basically want to charge up your sword hit and try to hit both heads at once. If he casts the 4 around you, you just can either stand or you can jump out at an angle. You want to try to bring down both heads at the same rate, because once you bring down the heads, they'll start flying around the room, but they're timed, so they will reattach themselves very, very rapidly unless you get both heads off at the same time. Now that we're moving into phase 2, things get slightly more complex. You want to jump there at the beginning so you don't get stunned, let him run into the wall, do a single hop, and then smack him twice, and then flee. You want to initially flee to the side so that he sets his crash direction straight to the side so you can get in and hit him again, and then you want to fly up away from him, and that is how you flawless that, and he dies pretty quickly. Okay, this boss actually has a really nice trick to it. You want to open with a spinning slash. He will either then teleport into a single spin like that, or he'll start floating around the room. If he starts floating around the room like that, you want to hit him with a spinning slash, which will cause him to either land in the center of the room, or land at the side and do the laser eyes, both of which can be hopped over easily. The worst thing you can do is not land the spinning attack, and he'll continue to fly circles around the room, and then you're in trouble. Okay, so final boss of Oracle of Seasons here. The basic idea that I found was damage, 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 damage. He's going to drop a bunch of rocks from the ceiling, which I found ridiculously hard to predict where they're going to be. He's also going to be walking around the room throwing this mace at you. So basically, I tried to spinning attack as much as I possibly could, because surviving for a long time in this room with everything was just going to be impossible. And that's just phase 1. Here we are about to reach phase 2. In phase 2, he is going to pull out our Oracle of the Season, and he's going to start floating her around inside the crystal. The basic idea that you want to do here is you want to smack her with the Rod of Seasons and send her away so that you can attack him with the spinning attack. He will pick up a new move, which is the throwing of these tornadoes around. The rock thing is still there. She will constantly be positioned with her crystal in between you and him if you do not smack her away. I found that I had to switch out and use Pegasus seeds to get extra speed to run away. So that's my trick. And after 3 minutes, you thought that would be the final form, but no, we've got this joyous form right here going on. This is the Dark Dragon, the final form of Onyx. It seems really simple. You want to bait out the hand slam and jump on his hand, and then leap, doing a spinning attack to hit him in the head with his crystal. That's a lot easier said than done. He's going to generally follow up getting smacked in the face with a hand slam all the way to the side. So that crystal is hit there. He's going to move to one side and sweep all the way across. That is pretty much how he opens up the entire attack here in the first part. Once we get to the second part, he can do a couple of different moves in addition to that. He can either shoot blue flame, which I somehow don't get a single one in this entire kill, or he can basically breathe a ton of exploding fireballs. That is the hardest attack. You want the blue flames. The way you avoid the blue flames is you run to the side, and he will shoot where you're going to be. So once he launches it or starts to launch it, you change directions, and you're going to do that 4 times. I don't really have a trick for the red fireballs he's going to shoot down. Those are incredibly difficult to deal with. Okay, so here are those red fireballs that I told you about. I noticed that he does kind of have a couple of different patterns to his fireballs. There is one that is concentrated straight down. There is, I'm going to call it nozzle 2, which is a slight spray. Nozzle 3, which is a very wide spray. And then he will do one which is spread, so he's moving from nozzle 1 to nozzle 3. The trick I found to dodging this was to stand very close together. You can see he just brought it in and he's bringing it out right there. You want to recognize which he's doing. Is he doing a tight? Is he doing less tight, or is he doing wide? And you want to notice when he transitions. The trick is you want to stand under his left shoulder, and then you want to walk out if he starts to spread and then come back in. And if he spreads and comes in, you generally have to move like that. And I don't have any real advice beyond that. There are people who I saw online dash back and forth, but that didn't work for me. I found that standing and only moving when necessary was the best move. You're going to do this for about 5 minutes until you finally get the kill. And with that, you have beaten Oracle of the Seasons. Now, we're doing a linked game, which means you start with 4 hearts. You start with all your gear from the previous game that you can pick up, and you can also get a overpowered sword. So these can be fought either in Oracle of the Ages or in Oracle of Seasons. This is Twinrova. Now, you're going to notice a couple of things. You're probably going to notice I'm doing a lot of spinning attacks. It is because I am using a level 1 sword. You can get a level 1 sword which does 2 half-heart damage, a level 2, the noble sword, which does 3 half-heart damage. You can pick up the big Goron sword, which does 4 half-heart damage, and you can get the master sword, which does 5 half-heart damage. You can only pick up the Master Sword in the linked game, but I've got a level 1 sword, which means I can't deflect their projectiles without doing the spinning attack. So you need to deflect the spinning attack into the opposite elemental witch. This part of the fight is absolutely RNG with the spin attack, as they're really difficult to aim. So there you go. Do it enough, and you eventually move on to phase 2. You'll notice that I have full hearts there. I've done a flawless phase 1, and we're going to open phase 2 with not. So I did not realize I was working with the wrong save state until too late, and phase 1 is not interesting enough to go back and correct it. If phase 1 is RNG, simple and brain dead by hiding in the corner, phase 2 makes up for that so much. Phase 2 Twinrova is ridiculous. She has 2 phases, fire and ice. Initially, I thought fire was going to be the easier to punish because you slide around on the ice, but it's not. It's ice, and I will go over the trick to what I was doing when I get there. Basically, fire has 2 attacks, and the room has traps throughout it. The first attack is an exploding fireball that reflects off the wall, and the second is the homing bats. The strategy for this fight is hit her between 7 and 8 million times until she staggers. And then you want to pull out your slingshot and shoot her with fire seeds if you staggered her in ice form, and scent seeds if you staggered her in ice form. Basic tricks with fire: don't hit her unless she is against a wall or you are against a wall. It's dangerous to do so in the middle of the room, as you can get knocked into the lava pools. For the most part, I play fire pretty slow and safe. Ice phase is where you want to be aggressive, especially if you can manage to get between her and the wall fairly close. you'll see you can smack into the wall and bounce off. Now that was actually really bad luck there, because as soon as you stagger them and hit them with the fire seed, they're going to transition to the other element. So you really don't want an instant stagger in ice, because you can do several hits in there if you can get her trapped in the corner here. The strategy that I advocate is going to be having the rock cape on at all times and trying to avoid it. Always use the rock cape. In the ice form, you want to jump over those and hit the ones that go sideways. Hopefully you can deflect them the opposite direction you're trying to go, but that doesn't always work. She's going to return to the center of the room. The game bugs out here in a minute and she teleports. Life happens. But beyond that, that's pretty much the entire strategy to the fight. Eventually she's going to go down after you've hit her 347 million times, and you'll be on to Ganon. Yeah, that was the glitch I was talking about. I'm not sure what happened with the emulator right there. But this is perfect positioning on the ice. You want to spin, have her knock you into the wall, spin, knock you into the wall, and I'm going to get off a third spin. That's fantastic. Spins do 1.5 damage, so that's really the way I'm going to do damage with that one sword. Otherwise, you just do absolutely fuck all damage. And with that, we're moving on to Ganon. Ganon, the final boss, is a absolute joke after Twinrova. Don't get me wrong, it's a tough fight. Ganon is going to teleport around the room. He's going to do a slash like that, which you just want to run away from. He's going to do a front spear star explosion, which you're going to hit him at the start of. And he will do a triple orb throw, which you want to hit him after he does it. With a level 1 sword or level 2 sword, you're only going to do damage with a spin attack. If you have the Big Goron sword or the Master Sword, you can regularly hit him. Obviously, I don't for this run. No upgrades of the sword, no rings. Eventually, you're going to hit Ganon enough that he's going to move to Phase 2, and Phase 2 is actually a godsend. We'll talk about that when we get there. With no upgrades, this fight is just really long, but here he moves to Phase 2, which is great. Whenever you see him teleport to the top like this and prep that, you can hit him once. When he slams, you can hit him again, and then you jump over the orb and you can hit him a third time. So it's really your best opportunity to punish. After you've done that a couple of times, he's going to move into his final phase. And for this final phase, we have the only reason this fight took me 4 attempts. This floor he's on reverses your control, so up goes down, left goes right. It is a convention in Zelda games that's common, but it was really hard and it caught me very off guard when it happened, so much so that I'm missing punishes there, even after I know it's coming. He manages to do this twice on me. You basically just want to run to the corners and use your leap to avoid the attacks. He'll make it pretty far over, but he never actually made it into a corner with me on that part of the board, so maybe he doesn't actually make it there. But eventually you will punish him enough that you will be done with the fight, and that'll be game over in the books.